Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. I had some more scrap wood, so I decided to make some more scrap wood trees. And these are super easy because all we're using is either a 2x4 or a 2x6. And I think in this case I used all 2x6s. Now with these trees, all that you do is you decide what length that you want them, and I'm doing them all different sizes. And you cut them the length you want them, and then you mark the center of the top, and you draw a line from the center down to each bottom corner. And you don't have to make a stand for these because they're 2 inches thick. So they're going to stand up on their own. So I've made several of these this year so far, and we'll probably be making even more. Now I bought these boards, but on many occasions I have found a construction site. Usually if you find a new subdivision going in, then if you just drive around and see wood just laying out in the yard, that they're going to throw that away. And I've stopped on different occasions and asked, and they will just give it to you. So you can make these with free wood. Now this is a stencil that I had, a larger stencil, and I'm going to try to find these. There's a set of stencils like these with different things on them for Christmas, and I'm going to try to find those and add that in the description. But all I wanted from this one is just the words with the different types of trees. And that's the thing about the larger stencils, is you don't have to use the whole thing. You can just use parts of it. Now I'm adding a stamp to this one, and this has just got some evergreen with some pine cones. The thing I don't like about using my stamps like this is many of my stamps that I have either thrifted or bought out in an estate sale or something like that, and haven't been able to locate many of these stamps. And that's the case with so many of my stamps. I have only bought maybe a third of them new, if that. And this is another stamp that I got. And I didn't actually thrift this one. I actually had a friend who bought out an estate sale, and he brought the things that he didn't want. So there was a stamp collection in that one. Now sometimes I make sets of these trees, but all of them that I'm doing today, I just decided to make on their own, and then they could be bought and put together by whoever decides to buy them. Now most of these trees I will sell them for about $7 to $10, depending on the size and what all I put on them. I have a lot of people ask, and I don't generally like to tell my prices because I find that they vary so much in different areas. But I'm not going to have much in this at all, and I can make these very quickly so I can sell them at a good price. Now this one tree, all I did on it was just take some joint compound, or you could use spackling. I think it's pretty much the same thing. And I just took a putty knife and just kind of rubbed it on there, and rubbed it in a way where it forms some texture like a tree would have. But this could be a set here once I get them finished. Again, I'm just going to sell all of mine separately. With these three, I painted 2 of them solid white and then did some distressing. And the first one I really distressed, and there was a lot of texture to the grain in the wood, so it gave me a really pretty distressed look. And this one I used my Medallion stencils, and I'll add those in the description, and a spatula, and rubbed some the joint compound and use that to stencil with, and that gives you a bit of a raised design, and it's just a really pretty look. But see, these three could be added or could be put together in a set, and I think they would be really pretty. And of course, all of these trees will get finished with a clear finish, and I just use a clear matte finish so that it doesn't change the look of them. Now what these were the pieces that I cut off when I went from the center of the top to the bottom corner, and I made trees from those by gluing them together. Now this is a new Dixie Belle color, and although I'm out of frame here, you can see this color, and this is, I have complained different times about Dixie Belle's greens especially, and in that they needed a color more like this, and this actually is exactly what I was hoping for, or one of the colors that I really was hoping for. This is English Ivy, and it's the perfect color, I think, for these trees. And although I'm doing most of these in neutral, I just thought it would be good to mix some green ones in. Now here again is the two ends that I cut off. So you don't have to throw those away. Just keep them and put the flat sides together. And obviously the angled sides on the outside. And you can glue them together and make your tree. And that just adds a little extra texture. Now this is just some old rusty chain that I found out in my husband's junk. And I thought this would be good to add as a garland around the tree. I think with these neutral colors, the rust goes really well with. Again, using the 2x4s, I know it hasn't been long since I did a tree video using just different types of scrap wood. But using these 2x4s, I think make these so easy. Just because you don't have to put them on a base. And I just happen to like the really chunky look of these. Now these are also a good place to add some old hardware that you have lying around. And this is just an old drawer pull that I only had a few of and couldn't find a piece of furniture that they would work on. So this is just a nice addition to this. And so all I've done here is just stamped some scripture all over it. And because these two boards are glued together, then this is just another way to attach them. And so this works out really well. You don't find many pieces like this. They are hard to find, but on the occasion that you do have some on hand, then this is a good place to use them. I have to share a praise report with you guys. Actually, a sweet friend of mine, her daughter has been sick for some time with cancer, and they actually had gotten to the point where they were just kind of trying to make her comfortable. Obviously, a lot of people have been praying for her, and when they did the last scan, that cancer had not only stopped growing, it had shrunk, and I think shrunk considerably. So that's how my God works, and I have to brag on him every now and then, and I've just been so encouraged when I got that news. So another way you can add garland to these little trees is just taking some jute twine and stringing some pieces on them, and in this case I'm using rusty bells, and these are just some that I didn't buy rusty. I just took some that I already had, and I soaked them in vinegar overnight, and then the next day I sprayed some peroxide on them, and that will rust them. Now these didn't rust the way that most items do that I've done that with. You can do that with a spool of wire. That's how I get my rusty wire. I'll just dip it overnight, or just soak it overnight in vinegar, and then the next day, what that does is it removes the protective coat on it. and then when you spray it with peroxide the next day, it will rust. Again, this had a lot of coating on it apparently, and didn't rust exactly the way I would have had it to, but I still got plenty of rust, and it's going to work well for this. And when you're rusting your items, it's a good idea if you rust several at one time, since it is going to have to soak overnight. So if you have a spool of wire while you're rusting your little embellishment items like this, then it just makes sense to do them all together. I've had such a busy week this week getting ready for my open house, and I'm so excited that many of you have expressed that you're going to try to make it. So I can't wait to meet some of you on Saturday. As you can see here, I'm stringing these on, and then I'm tying a knot around it so that it doesn't slide around, because I want to make sure that they're placed more sporadically. I don't want them to all kind of slide together, and that's just the easiest way to keep them on the string. Now, if you don't have these little jingle bells, then you could do little miniature bulbs on them, or you could do the tiny little pine cones. You could glue those on. You could even add jewelry if you wanted to give this a different look. And I'm noticing here that my hands are showing how busy I've been, because I've been staining and doing all sorts of finishes. And I actually worked on some larger trees like this, and this is not going to be in the video, but I will have them pictured at the end of this video. But what I did was I took 2x6s, and instead of measuring to the center of the top and cutting off those ends, I cut from one end to the length of the other end. And I know that didn't make sense. I measured the length of the 2x6, and then after I measured the length of it and cut it the length that I wanted, the height that I wanted it, then I drew a line from the one corner of the bottom to the other corner of the top and cut that. And then I had two very large pieces to put together into a large tree. And that made some really nice mantle top, or what I would consider mantle top trees. Actually, they would even work for the hearth or to set by your front door, but they're a lot more substantial. And I just really love how those turned out. And then my husband had a tool, and some sort of grinder tool, and he ground little chunks in them and gave them some texture, and I thought that turned out really good. I didn't see the point in showing that, because most of you are not going to have that tool, and to be honest, it's kind of dangerous doing that. I tried to do it myself and was successful on some of the trees, but I did get my knuckles into it a little bit. So this one, I like this little slide lock thing. It's a little vintage slide lock, and I'm using it to attach them in the center, and that adds a little bit of contrast to this. So you can add just about anything to these that you want. If you want to make them more shabby chic, then you could even add lace to them. But for me, I did most of these in more of a rustic style. So all of these that I did, I think, were more rustic than shabby chic. So I just added stencils and stamps to these, and again I added some scripture stamps, because I like to add the real meaning of Christmas in on these whenever I can. And then once they were finished, then I added hang tags to all of them. And this is just a very easy way to make a large display of trees and not have very much time or money in it. and these sell really well. Now, I know that I'll be asked with these, and these, depending on what I have on them, they may be as little as $7, and they may be as much as $12. And a 2x4 isn't very expensive at all, and you can get several out of one. So your time is mainly what you have in these. And as you can see, these really haven't taken that much time, especially if you go through and base coat everything at once and let that dry, and then go through and glue everything together and then do your embellishments. It kind of goes really quickly. I love that the weather is starting to cool off and we're starting to have some crisp mornings and evenings, and I love the fall season, and I'm kind of ready for some cooler temperatures. Now, I do have some hang tags to show at the end of this video, some actually beautiful hang tags, and so I'm excited for you guys to see those. And I think I'm going to go ahead and start putting up my tree that has that I plan on decorating with those, and I'll show that when I get it up, and then as I add the hang tags to it, I'll show that as well. Now, when I put these pieces together, I use both Tite Bond wood glue and also hot glue, and the hot glue will just help hold it together immediately to give the wood glue time to dry permanently. Now, I get asked frequently about these little brushes that I use for my stenciling when I'm stenciling with an ink pad. Now, you can use any kind of ink pad that you want. If you're going to seal this, then it's not going to matter anyway. And I do like the Stayzon ink because once it dries and you clear coat it, you don't have to worry about that smudging. But these little makeup brushes, that's all that they are, and I will add them in the description. But they're easy to find and not very expensive at all. You can get them at the Dollar Tree one at a time. Lately, they've been out of everything except a little tiny one at my store. But I'll link them in the description, and I use these all the time. They work perfectly for stenciling with ink. And as I always say, if your stencil doesn't fit, sometimes you can just fit the words that you need on there, and which is what I'm doing in this case, or on some of the larger stencils, I'll just use bits and pieces. And although I didn't put stars on any of these, you could definitely add stars. I do have some rusty stars that I may decide to add to some of them. And maybe some of you would prefer some color, and you could use more Christmas colors in this just by using more colorful ink. And here are some of the trees that I worked on today. Some of these I added transfers to. Those in the front there were decoupaged. I had some iron numbers that they quit making where I bought those, and so I have some numbers, some I don't. I used to sell them for people to put their address on, and now I'm stuck with some because they don't have their entire address. So I just thought this would be a good place to add those. And here is a beautiful viewer hang tag. This is from Jacqueline Morris from Indiana. And Jacqueline is so talented. She's crafted for a long time. And this is a beautiful hang tag that she made actually for my personal faith tree. But I want to use it on my tree at work, at least until I put mine up at home. Because I just thought this really needed to be showed off. It's just so pretty. This is a large hang tag, and I like that she added another layer with another hang tag hanging from it. And she put all kinds of detail on that as well. So she didn't cut any corners on this. I think this one is just absolutely beautiful. And there is the back. And I think she did such a good job on this one. Thank you so much for that. And it will go on my tree at home. But again, I want to put it on the tree at the shop for a while first. Now here is the hang tag she made for my hang tag tree. And I think this one is just absolutely beautiful with all the rosettes on it and the lace. And this is a detail that I really wanted to zoom in on. I love this little vintage looking church and cross there in the corner. I thought that was such a sweet touch to add to this. And I didn't want you guys to miss that. I just think it's so pretty. And the back of this one is so beautifully done as well. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. You did such a wonderful job, and I appreciate you guys so much for sending these in. And once again, here are the trees, and I added some of the larger ones in the back that my husband added texture to. You can't see them well, but as you can see, it made them considerably larger. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.